Hello and welcome to yet another PoE for Dummies video. This time we have 10 beginner tips and tricks for beginner, new and all players in Path of Exile. For this one I've done a little bit of a curation of what I would generally do, but these are useful for anyone basically starting off or coming back to Path of Exile. So for the first tip and trick, you can hop over to my website, heavyheals.com, and you can find whatever you want there. And now we are going to go to the campaign. In the campaign, you want to check what is where. So on my website, you can see here I have Act Legends, where you can go to Google Drive and download these images and use them as a tool to help you find different things like passives, labs, respec points, gems, items, and others. That is very useful for anyone playing along. Next, if you scroll down, there are all the acts sorted that you can basically put on a secondary screen, and then you can see the video with how I've played. You can match the pace or not. I've used like leveling gear in these videos, so you can level with me basically. They're all half-an-hour videos that you can play along, or you can use written guides. There's the complete written guide for every single quest, passive point, whatever lab, ascendancy trial that you can get, and all of those are combined in their own respective pages with, of course, click back to go back to the beginning. Bonus thing, you have the ascendancy there as well. So that is the first tip. Next tip for returning players, this can be also done for new players if you are willing to spend a little bit of money when you start the game, is sort out your stash tabs. When you sort out your stash tabs, you want them to be sorted in. When you go to login, login. You can create a character, unless you have a character. If not, you create a character, and it is important that the character is in standard league. This is also if you play hardcore for hardcore 2. Now, you create a character, you go through the fight, and then you go back to the game and you are sorting through the stash tabs. When you are doing this in standard, these will transfer over the league. So whatever league you have, what you're sorted in standard is going to be there. Bonus points, if you have specific tabs that you want to use, right click on the tab if it's a premium tab, and you can sort out the affinity. On regular ones, I think you can still sort them out by other affinities, and they are more always being added to the game. So that is tip number 2. Number 3, when League starts, check vendors often. So every time you level, check these vendors. So you have in Act 1 the right vendor and the left vendor. We are going there. First, you have your weapons, you have your gear, and you have your like other smaller weapons one-handed and your boots. What you're looking for is you're looking for movement speed. So you can type in movement speed and see if you have some, or if you don't, that's fine. If you want to get to the other vendor, it's on the other side of the town, depending on the town, and these vendors sell like wands, belts, flasks, jewelry, and also gems. That is very important to know. That's tip number 3. 4. Useful vendor recipes. Path of Exile has a massive vendor recipe system, and that vendor recipe system will help you when you're playing the game. The entire website is here for vendor recipe system. I am just pulling out a few that are very useful. One of them that is useful is movement speed boots. Early on in the campaign, you are going to get a quest that gives you a movement speed flask called a Quicksilver Flask. That one I do not recommend using immediately for this recipe. However, what I do recommend doing is basically going to the upper prison. So you are going to the lower prison, then navigating your way to the upper prison, and in upper prison there is this little hidden room that has some goodies for us. When you click the switch that is conveniently placed in a very hidden location, when you click the switch, the room opens, and there you will find a chemist's strongbox. Chemist Strongbox is a box that rewards flasks. When you click it, let's do not use any currency on it. You have to defeat some monsters, you defeat them, and you are going to drop some flasks. What we need from here is we need the Quicksilver Flask. You will get multiple of these, sometimes one, sometimes three, and you will get other flasks too. Why do we need the Quicksilver Flask? We need it to craft the boots. You combine a Quicksilver Flask, so when you sell, you combine a Quicksilver Flask, the boots of choice, this upgrades the tier or gives the lowest tier if possible, and an Orb of Augmentation to get a 10% movement speed boots or higher if you repeat the process. So if we take another Orb of Augmentation here, and if we take the boots again with a Quicksilver Flask, boots, this, and a Quicksilver Flask, you're going to get a 15% movement speed boost. So you can get multiple of those Quicksilver Flasks from the Chemist's Strongbox, and you are going to get like 15 or maybe 20% movement speed flask. Don't use all. I like to save 2 to 3 Quicksilver Flasks because it just makes the game smoother. So you can do that one. That is your first vendor recipe. Second vendor recipe is for attack-based builds. Attack-based builds can use more physical damage on the weapon, especially early. So you would buy any weapon that has whatever modifiers you want, and then you would use a rustic sash on it. Now I'm missing one transmute, sorry. Now for the rustic sash needs to be either magic, rare, or unique. So blue, yellow, or orange color. What you do is you vendor a weapon, you vendor one blacksmith's whetstone, and you are making a rustic sash with an orb of transmutation or an alchemy orb. You're making it either blue or yellow, which is magic or rare, and you're using that one. What you're getting is you get the weapon from here to weapon that has increased physical damage modifier. This is from 40 to 49%. It is a very good way to get more damage of your weapon if you were unlucky in your journey. So we can do that one. For our magic users / spellcasters, the process is the same, but instead of using an attack-based weapon, you're using a wand, a scepter, and such, with, again, a belt, this time chain belt. So you use a blacksmith's whetstone and a chain belt. You are getting percent spell damage. This also works with staves too. You get a higher percent spell damage. You can repeat the process to get the bet on better weapons and things, and it's all sorted here. These are the boots. These are the weapons. Weapons with increased physical damage and increased spell damage. With the better rarity comes the better percent, as you can see here, and as you can see here. You can all read those. I will have it also on the screen for a little bit while I am talking about those. So that is the next tip. So use the vendor recipes. Now for our attack-based builds, sorry spellcasters, for attack-based builds, you want to use blacksmith's whetstones on your weapon. That will give you up to 20% more physical damage of the weapon. So we currently have 27 to 43. And we use 2 because it's a low weapon. You would use 1 to 2, it's fine. However, you can afford of extra. And that is now bringing it to 33 to 51. It just boosts your stats a little bit more. And that extra damage could be the extra oomph that you need to go through the zone in questing. You can, of course, do this on any attack-based weapon. Unfortunately, for spell-based weapons, this doesn't work as this increases the physical damage of the weapon itself and not the magic properties. Next tip is, after you're done with this and you have your gear sorted and you go through the campaign and you get to Act 2, you will at one point meet Helena. Helena is going to be in Act 2's The Forest Encampment in the top left corner of the map. Here she is, and she's going to give you a quest to go to your hideout and use the crafting bench. That is this little thing. You go to your hideout, you open that up, it's on the waypoint and the hideout. You find where Helena is. Mine is lost somewhere in time-space continuum, but you want to get to the crafting bench. On the crafting bench, of course, this is a high-level character, and lower-level character, you'll have less things. You can always add more modifiers. There are prefixes and suffixes, and some others if you want the sockets, on the item. Generally speaking, prefixes add damage, suffixes add resistances or attributes that you would need. So any item that you can have, if magic, 1 prefix, 1 suffix, if rare, 3 prefix, 3 suffix, if unique, unchangeable. Normal items can't have modifiers, you have to upgrade them. So let's say this weapon has the prefix, you check it by pressing Alt, prefix modifier, and you can add a suffix modifier. You can add whatever suffix modifier you would want. That is level appropriate, keep that in mind. If you get a weapon that has attack speed and whatever, you can also add some flat damage, which is my general recommendation. Fire, cold, whatever damage you want to add on the weapon. So that is for crafting bench. This also helps you gear up your regular gear with resistances. Keep that in mind. And some life. Next tip. In Act 3, so we're going basically through the acts, right? In Act 3, when you get to, this character doesn't have it, which is funny. When you get to the library area is going to open up a vendor. Every town has its own vendor of the type, but in Act 3, none here. In this area here, you have a vendor, Ciosa. I can show it from here, right? So you have a vendor, Ciosa, who is going to sell you gems. This is Ciosa, and he is going to sell you gems. This is what you're going to see. These gems are all the gems previously unlocked in the campaign. None of them are the gems that are unlocked post, so Act 4 and 5. So just the Acts 3 and under. That's where Ciosa is. Follow the quest journey and you'll have him there. But later on, as we trot in the campaign, when we get to Act 6, in Act 6, right at the beginning of Act 6, we are going to have another vendor, which is Lily Roth. This one I can show you in game. So she is in Act 6, and immediately on Act 6, when you reach the boat, she's going to be basically here. You do her quest, which is the first quest in the zone, in the left part here of the actual town, and you're going to get her unlocked in your hideout. When you go to the hideout, you can place her there, and she is going to provide the selling services and gem services. She sells all the gems in the game that can be purchased and acquired through the campaign. So she sells those. Use it well, because from Act 6 onwards, your builds are going to start looking basically sort of complete. So that is for those two vendors, for gem vendors. Next one, again in Act 6, we are going to have something that is new to Path of Exile 1. It has existed in Path of Exile 2, and I'm going to explain it in Path of Exile 2. As we are now in PoE 2, this is going to be the instant trading system or asynchronous trade that is coming to Path of Exile 1. So from this point onwards, this is going to be shared from both games. In PoE 2, the Ange is the vendor that is going to be our instant trader, but in PoE 1, we have Faustus. So once you get to Act 6 and you unlock Faustus, you are going to have an access to two things. First things first, you're going to have access to currency exchange. This has all the currency you can possibly fit in the game, and you can sell the currency for whatever other currencies you would like. That is the main component. So you choose what you have, you choose what you want, you choose the market ratio, and you place the order. It costs gold. The next system is the managed shop system, which is a synchronous trade. What does that mean is when you want to buy something on Path of Exile's trade website, you are going to select something for trade. you are going to see here a button. Let's do it for PoE 2 because that one is a little bit more precise. You're going to see the button travel to hideout. When you travel to hideout for someone to buy something, your character automatically goes there and it opens up the window for purchase. You can purchase things like that. You can also put things on sale. Let's see how that works. So you go back to your hideout and then you talk to Ange or Faustus. You talk to Faustus and you post things on sale. You post them in here and you want to say, let's say it's Chaos Orb in PoE 1, put for 1 Chaos Orb and you list the item. When you list the item, other people can see it on the website. They can come over to your hideout. The item gets locked for a little bit before you can actually remove it and price fix it, basically. So pay attention to that. And also, if you have put the price a little bit too low, you're going to see people in your hideouts trying to grab the item. That's it. When you sell something from the marketplace, you are going to get the earnings tab. In earnings tab, you're going to get your currency and you can pick it up. This is amazing because it doesn't require any player interaction at all. It just requires gold to purchase something with, of course, the currency that you have and the currency that you have given. Okay, how do we get these tabs though? Because you don't start with these tabs. Currently and later on, from the release of 327 League, you need to go to pathofexile2.com. In the top right corner, you need to find your account. You click on My Account. On My Account, you will have Merchants tab upgrade. It will tell you what tabs you can upgrade to Merchants tabs, and once you upgrade the tab to a Merchant tab, you are going to get it in the game. Keep in mind, this is a paid service. This is not free to play, this is paid. You have to buy a premium, regular premium tab or upgrade the already existing ones, which we have 4, in order to be able to upgrade them to merchant tabs. If you had these tabs, you can upgrade them to merchant. If you didn't have these tabs, you will have to go to the microtransaction shop, to the stash tabs option, and you will need to buy a merchant tab. They are 40 points each, which is $4. You can buy them on discount. Discounts come every 3 weeks. So buy a merchant tab. It is going to make your life way, way, way easier. And one last thing, when it comes to instant trading, we now have a trading option in our game. If you click on the hamburger menu, or default is in PoE 2 is /, or in PoE 1 it's the comma button, you can open up the market panel. Here you can search for items and ignore list, of course, items that you want to buy. Whichever modifiers you want to fit in, you can find them at the bottom with stat filters. You can add stat filters for resistances and things. And let's say you want something with cold resistance, you click search and you have them there. You click on the bag option to travel to hideout and you will instantly move there. The only thing that you need to pay attention to is that this does not save on the loading screen, and I would want you to tell you to use the open on website button, because if you use open on website button, you are going to save your search there, and when you travel to hideout, to somebody else's hideout, there we go, after the loading screen, and if you want to do that thing again, you are now not going to have it here. However, you are going to have it saved there. So use the website option first before you move to somebody else's hideout, just so it remembers it. So that is for tip number 8. For tip number 9, we are going back to tips and tricks screen on the website, where you can find different strategies and things, but I want to focus on the button Other Tips. When you click Other Tips, you're going to open up a web page that is going to show you some secret things in Path of Exile that you might not have known about that you can find. As an example, there is a secret unique that you can acquire from Act 8. It's a minute and a half, well, 2-minute video, sorry, that is going to explain where and how you can obtain this. This is once a character that you can do and get maybe a good item, maybe an item, but it will help you on your journey nonetheless. If you vendor it, you get like half an alchemy orb. If you sell it, it may be a chaos or maybe 2 chaos orbs in the beginning of the league, or you might luck out and you get a good item for yourself to use. It is a small gamble, however, it can be very good as it doesn't take too long to do. It takes a few minutes of your time to do. You can do this at any point in the campaign or after the campaign. There's also like some hidden recipes that you can acquire in Act 2 and Act 3. Also, again, another short video, which is a minute long, that shows you how you can obtain those. And in the end, there is map progress done easy that you can basically follow along to get like 2-minute video to get the map progression on the way after you're done with the campaign. So that concludes tip number 9. And as our last tip, tip number 10, you would want to use some tools. So if you navigate my website here, you go to the left side third-party tools, you are going to see a video of tools that I recommend. However, we can skip that and we can use Filter Blade. This is your loot filter that is very good to use later on in the game, where the game itself drops a ton of items, thousands of items or thousands of items, and with those items comes great problem with picking them all up. What you want to do is you want to go to Neversink's website, linked in on the page in the video. You can use that one, and there is an entire guide that I've made, 25 minutes long. I know it's a bit long, but once you figure it out, then it's going to be very easy, and you can use Neversink's default filters, which are excellent for beginners, or you can use my own filters. My own filters are found on my own profile page, and that profile page is, there we go, here, and you can find that there in the filters section. So you will be able to find item filters. These are always going to be updated for the league that they are currently in. As Neversink is always working on his filters, these filters are always going to be updated for the league and onwards. And that concludes all the tips and tricks that I have for you in this video. These are just 10 tips and tricks that anyone could use for the game. Beginner, new player, returning player or not, these are for all players. These are some of the things that I forget to do, like stash tabs, or some things that other people don't know maybe where they are, like finding a secret unique. So follow along a campaign guide, and you can also follow along a build guide that is going to help you as well, or you can play along with your own build. I have builds for those. You can follow along there. You can see what builds are updated. You can have fun with those, of course. But as I said, that is it for this guide. If you have any comments or any opinions that you want to share, feel free to post them down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video if you did, sub if you don't mind, and I will see you in the next PoE video or stream. Happy League Start and have a good one.